What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas back with you. Sorry it's so late. Been trying to get to this for a while to give you guys the latest on Hurricane Melissa. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Some thunderstorms over the past 48 hours through Central Florida, where I am based, has had my attention to track those storms for the people of Central Florida. So I'm now finally getting some time to talk about Hurricane Melissa, and of course, looking at the satellite, nothing needs to be said. I mean, pretty much the most pristine satellite image that you can get. And that is, of course, a bad thing from our friends or for our friends in Jamaica, eventually Cuba, the Turks and Caicos, and beyond. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Do me a favor, post in the chat. If this is the first time you're finding the channel, we are all about the no BS. We are all about the no hype. We're just talking about the weather. We're sound meteorology, sound science, and all of that stuff. And of course, the impact when we're in a situation like this. So I'm going to do the best I can to pass along everything that I can to those that might be tuning in and looking for some information. And again, this is where we stand right now. We're waiting the latest track and intensity from the National Hurricane Center. That's going to come out in about 20 minutes. I mean, it's early. I mean, we might get it in about 10. Sometimes they put out their stream anywhere from 10:40, or they put out their update from 10:45 ish. Depending upon when they get their package all together. So here is the latest again on Melissa. This is of 8 o'clock. And again, about as pristine as you can get, that pink color across that pink color really around the entire eye that looks like a compact disc. This is a very rare sight in the Atlantic Basin. The last time I remember seeing something, we saw it with Ian, we saw it with Dorian. Dorian really jumps off the page here when it looks like um, this compact disc. It looks like a CD. It more resembles a Pacific typhoon. The winds right now are a whopping 175 miles an hour. I don't know if you guys heard, you may have heard, the hurricane hunters, the NOAA aircraft actually had to bail from the eye wall. The turbulence was just too much. And that is a very rare thing to do. The only other time I've heard of them actually having to kind of abort the mission is with Hurricane Ian, that one of the final passes there, because the turbulence was just so much. Okay, I have a question here about, will the track deviate? It does appear that according to the satellite, that we are running on the western side of this eye, um, or the western side of this cone. So it's going to favor likely somewhere in a landfall in between Bull Savannah and Frome, somewhere in that general area, maybe Belmont, Black River. That is right smack dab in the central and western side of the cone. Again, coming in as a strong, as a Category 5 hurricane, and then quickly weakening over the terrain there. I want to show you, we'll go over some of the modeling here again, because now is the time where we are really nowcasting. We know the large steering currents, it's not going to deviate too much, but at this stage in the game, wobbles matter. And let me go back to the satellite image real quick, and you can see it rolling above my head. Um, this thing is just wobbling all over the place. Let me zoom in real quick just so you can see what I'm talking about. Just notice how it wobbles just all over the place. It's really not moving much, but it is wobbling. And then at the very end, you see that kind of hook to the northeast. It is feeling that cold front that eventually is going to steer this thing right on into Jamaica. Again, we're getting some very nasty thunderstorms across the central and western side, from Kingston west right now. And that's going to be something that continues, unfortunately, not only for the rest of tonight, but for most of tomorrow. And really not seeing big time improvements until later in the day on tomorrow. So the latest computer models, again, to see if we can catch any of those things. Most of them still have them on shore, but maybe, just maybe, we can wobble this out. The other thing that I've been looking at is the Google DeepMind. It's been one of the best models this year when it comes to predicting not only the strength, but the accuracy. And everything is kind of locked in now to the central and western side. So while the cone kind of goes off the coast a little bit, most of these Google DeepMind ensembles are locked in. I want to show you guys something. This was from earlier today. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have seen the stadium effect before in video from the hurricane hunters, but this is wild here. This is from the Air Force, um, and they flew in today and found their winds of 175 miles per hour. And you just see that it looks like a stadium, how they're kind of low there, about 10,000 feet up, and then you just look up and you see kind of like the stands of the stadium. And those clouds you see there, that wall of clouds is the eye wall. That's the most intense part of the storm that's going to all around the nice, calm, and clear eye that they are flying through right now. I'm going to pull up some other things because the only thing really that can slow this down is an eye wall replacement cycle. And that's kind of whenever they kind of ditch their current eye, the bands from around it start spiraling inward. I'm not seeing a ton of evidence that we have other banding around it. I'm just looking at some other things. Don't have a tail Doppler radar to see, but the microwave imagery. I mean, maybe this is a start. I mean, I'll take that if and what I'm talking about with that is maybe for an eye wall replacement cycle, we start to get banding, and then the outer band wins eventually wins out and then kind of shrinks the eye in again, but the winds also expands. It was not necessarily the best thing because then that will increase the winds on the island. So we will see. It's going to be interesting. I've not because I've been busy with the storms here in the Central Florida area. Let me get back to my main thing. I have not seen a lot of the recon data coming through. I know that some ensembles had that opportunity for a sub 900 millibar storm. It's not out of the question. But if it starts to form another eye, then that will be out of the question. Let me see. Just see. Talk amongst yourselves. So let me pull up. Before I do that, I do because I have to run to the 11 o'clock news, so I don't have a ton of time on the stream. Unfortunately, today I could stream for hours upon hours. So I do want to make sure that I get some information out to everybody. Rodney mentioned about a move to jog. It does look like that. However, we'll see at 11 o'clock in just a few minutes, and we have the cone above my head. So when that comes in, we're going to know as it happens. But now's the point where you question, okay, is it a wobble or is it the turn? Because it's been wobbling back and forth a little bit. So that's the thing. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go through the timeline here. This is, I don't know why that says Saturday. What's today's date? Today is the 27th. Okay. So this was earlier today. Let me. Okay. So this is going to be the future radar. And it's kind of like this is the European rendition of that. And it's kind of underplaying what the structure looks like now. So the euro is going to come in 2 weeks, as it typically does. But there's lunchtime tomorrow. So the Europeans favoring a landfall sometime late morning, maybe as late as lunch, depending upon when we see things shake out a little bit. And then going right over Montego Bay, and then going right over Cuba, and then out towards Wednesday. Then we're watching for Bermuda. So there's still a lot of things to shake out because we're at the stage of the game now where wobbles matter. But that's 3 o'clock still tomorrow afternoon. I just if anybody tuning in from Jamaica, there's overnight tonight. We have that onshore flow that's bringing, I mean, heavy rain throughout the entire island. That's where we can get again the 20 to 40 plus inches of rain, especially east of the center, which is basically the entire island. And then there's 3 o'clock. And then finally, in the early morning hours of Wednesday, we are going to be clearing out. Um, I love the satire from Cole. Carson, it can't go that further west because there's a couple of cold fronts. So if it goes any west, it's just going to be these little nudges. It's not going to be anything big, um, significant enough to save Jamaica, unfortunately, or significant enough to come to Florida, thankfully. So important to note that. I know kind of misinformation about that has been running rampant over the past couple of days. Here we go. Let me see if my pause point is right. So there we go. There's 3 o'clock. And I mean that's crazy. This is the year these are wind gusts. And I mean obviously not out of the question when you have maximum sustained winds around the center at 175 miles an hour. I would not be surprised if we have gusts well over 130 um at times on the southwest side of the island. Yeah, no, Carson, I'm 100% positive and we're already seeing that. So it can't come as we talked about this a lot in some of the videos leading up to the week that the Gulf is certainly closed because of the cold fronts. Roselle 1774 hits it right on the head here. If that front wasn't heading here, then this likely would have followed more of a climatological path and gone further west and got into the Gulf. But cold front shuts the door, and we have a couple of those guys. Let me see. I'll show you a great example. Here we go. And I have it kind of looping. There it is. So there's the hurricane. Look at that eye. That is nuts. That's just crazy. I mean, it's too perfect, and unfortunately, it has to hit land. Um, but there's the trough right there. So you can kind of see that spin, this dip in the jet stream. That is what's going to connect with Melissa and then lift it up and then push it through. And then another bigger trough coming out of the Four Corners region. You see that dip in the jet stream, that green kind of ejecting out of Denver. That is that's the trough right there. That's really going to send anything packing. Um, I don't think anything develops with the remnants of Melissa. I mean, we could get something developing in November. I'm not going to take that out of the question. There's nothing screaming right now. If it would, though, it would be suppressed in the Caribbean. If I have anybody tuning in from the United States, and a lot of people are, so I think the hurricane season is over for the United States. There may be one more left in the tank, likely not as intense as this. I'm not seeing anything too crazy um, out there, but nonetheless, I do think there might be one more. Okay, so Cole just said the 11 o'clock advisory is in. If that's the case, and he's right, okay, the computer hasn't updated yet. If it's in, sometimes it takes a second for this computer to get it. Um, I mean, the satellite presentation would suggest that. I mean, we were just talking about that meteorologically it is. Here's the thing, we're never going to friends don't let friends ever talk about the GFS because it had like a 1,000 millibar low going through Haiti. And here's where we stand right now as we wait for that to come in. Okay, so have seen, the 11 o'clock advisory is not in yet. So Cole is not accurate. So that is not that. Um, I will say some of the satellite techniques we have that are out there are estimating it to be sub 900 millibars, and that. So we'll see what happens. Again, we're waiting for this to hit. As soon as the Hurricane Center pushes the button and actually does it, we will get the 11 o'clock advisory. I'm going to do my best to stay on here. What I'll do, what I'll do is I have a couple of live streams going on our News 6 page. I'm going to keep this live after the 11 o'clock news. I'm probably going to come back with you guys if you're up, and we'll stream a little bit more, I think, because this is just crazy. Just kind of refreshing everything, waiting for the 11 o'clock advisory to hit. It should be out any minute now. Yeah, on the radar or satellite loop, it does look like it jogs to the northeast. So that where it says 8 o'clock advisory up there, as soon as the 11 o'clock hits, you're going to see that change. Yeah, it looks like latest recon in there is at 907. So the pressure dipped again, but it could be a wobble, but I mean, it's that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to slow down, or that's what it's expected to do: slow down and then make the turn to the north and east. So that's all that it's supposed to do. There is the potential for hurricane force winds over the next 5 days, and you see it's pretty much sky high on the western side. I mean, it's greater than 80% that we do receive sustained winds. Um, sustained winds of greater than 75 miles an hour. Gusts, no doubt, going to be over that for sure. Yeah, and it does look like it's starting to turn to the northeast. So any kind of hope of maybe keeping the core off of the island. I mean, that was kind of wish casting anyway. Is going away now that it's turning to the northeast. So if it's begun that already, it's going to be around Black River, Bull Savannah, potentially for landfall. Maybe as far to the west as Frome, but I mean, it really looks like. And again, we're just watching and watching those wobbles intently, because now's the point where really those wobbles are unforecastable. It's just okay because it's just so intense in there that we get a wobble on, wobble off, all that stuff. Pinky, I mean, it's basically happening now. Conditions are gonna get worse and worse with every passing hour, overnight tonight. Landfall, where the worst of the weather should be sometime late Tuesday morning, tomorrow morning, to around lunchtime, and then for most of the afternoon on Tuesday. It's weird that the 11 o'clock advisory hasn't come in yet. I wonder what the hangup is. Normally we have it by about like 10:47, give or take. Um, but I don't see anything right now that would suggest that we have it. The Air Force plane just left the Corps not too long ago and recorded a pressure of 907. David says 184 flight level winds. Yeah, so yeah, I would imagine at 907, it's probably going to stay pretty much the same, except the directional change and probably pressured down at 907. Alrighty, guys, I have to go do the 11 o'clock news. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this stream that I did that. Hey, Cole, this is where we have the troll of the hour thing. If you don't stop with some of the misinformation, you're going to go to timeout, my friend. I put people in timeout all the time, and we don't do that stuff with misinformation here. The 11 o'clock advisory is not out yet. There's no Hurricane Hunter. There's no Hurricane Hunter data that would suggest 902. So, troll of the hour might be the first one of the night. Might be Cole. We'll see what happens. Alrighty, guys, I have to go and do the 11 o'clock news. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to keep this stream live that you see right here, and I'm going to do my best to get back on here at about 11:30. So do me a favor while you're waiting. If you're new to the channel, we talk all things weather, and we break it down with sound science, meteorology, none of the bull crap. Almost went the full way. None of the bull, none of the BS. So consider subscribing. We have a lot of fun on the channel where we're not dealing with life-threatening situations like this. But really, really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight for the weather conversation. That's what we have, and that's what separates our channel, our weather team, the collective 100,000 strong that we are, from the other weather channels on YouTube and the internet. So would appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, at the very least, hitting that thumbs up. And I will do my best to get back on here at about 11:30 the after the 11 o'clock news. If that is true and we did see an error on a thing, that could be what's hanging up the Hurricane Center, but we will see. Alrighty, guys, I have to run. I'll be back in about 30 minutes. See you soon. Be safe. We're waiting for the 11 o'clock advisory. I'm going to try to pull up the chat in the or in the studio so we can chat in the chat. Keep posting comments, hit that thumbs up, consider subscribing. You know the drill, all the above. We're thinking of our friends in Jamaica tonight. Here's the loop, guys. I'll see you soon. What's going on, guys? I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegis. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We talk all things weather here, as the name would imply, just weather. And we do so with a no hype, no BS, and we fight the misinformation that's out there. So if that's something that you enjoy, just talking about the weather, having a place to have that weather conversation, a weather community, consider hitting that subscribe button if you're here for the first time. We are going to get right into it. Just wanted to do that. I just wanted to say that as I load up my show here. It just came from the 11 o'clock news. We are out of Central Florida, but we talk weather across the country. And of course, tropically speaking, as of course, Florida gets hit a lot, unfortunately. Thankfully, it looks like we're going to get through it this year. But we are thinking about our friends in Jamaica. I'm just waiting for my slideshow to load up here, and we are going to get to it with the latest advisory. Of course, we were with you as it happened live. Our friends in the chat were posting everything and all the details with it. The big thing here is that there were two big things with the 11 o'clock advisory, and you can't see it because I didn't hit my button over there. Sorry, guys. I need some coffee at 11:38 in the evening. Hurricane Melissa's pressure has, okay, I said two things. There are three things that have changed. The pressure down to 903, that is a 5 millibar drop from the 8 o'clock advisory. Hey, Kadisha, welcome to the stream for the first time. If anyone's tuning in for the first time, let me know. I'd love to know where you're watching from. I'd love to know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, of course, post that along the way. The millibar drop, the pressure drop is 5 in the last few hours. So that's a signal to us that it is still trying to strengthen. The winds now are still at 175 miles per hour. That could go up with the pressure coming down. The second change that I want to show you, the third one comes with the track. The second change is now the movement is now out of the northeast. So it's going north and then wobbling and then going north and then wobbling again. And with these very powerful hurricanes, you kind of get the wobble into landfall. And that's something that we're going to be watching for over the next 12-ish hours, that we are watching for landfall here. It is still just crawling at 2 miles an hour. Welcome in Jamaica. I hope that you are doing well tonight, all things considered. We are thinking about you guys. Please, please, please be safe. And again, we're thinking about you. William, what's going on in Southwest Florida? Minnesota tonight. Love that state. Lived there for a few years. British Columbia, Canada, welcome. South Florida tonight, Stacy. Sean in Southwest Florida. It looks like, though, that with that northeast turn, I think any shot of it just scraping is wish casting. I was hopeful that that could be an outcome. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is the Google DeepMind ensemble, and all of them are locked in on the western side of Jamaica. These models, or the 50 ensemble members, have done a phenomenal job at forecasting all the nuances. I think all but one member had this getting into category 5 status, which is crazy that happened. But this is the Google DeepMind AI. It's done a very, very good job. And now all of them have, um, and all that. It's just a terrible situation. Worst case scenario. The question is there a worst case scenario for Kingston? I think Kingston, it's going to be hard to say because there are multiple hazards. Now we're talking 20, 30 inches of rain, potentially even more on an isolated scale in Kingston. So worst case scenario from wind, I'm going to say probably Kingston is escaping that. Storm surge, we're pushing the bay right up in there now, and it's going to be that way for the next 12 hours, give or take. Um, but I think largely Kingston has missed out on the worst case scenario, although it is going to be extremely bad because we're talking about a 175-mile-per-hour hurricane. The worst of the worst, and again, it's going to be worse. It's going to be pretty bad across the entire island. Thomas mentions Google DeepMind is the real MVP of the season. Yeah. All right. Post in the comments who is the fail model of this season. I'd love to know your thoughts. On that. And I think there's only one right answer, but I like to know your thoughts. The other third change here is that there it is. I love it. I love it. See, and this is why I love the channel so much, and I love you guys. And thanks for the interaction tonight. I love that because look at all the GFS is coming in. We all track the weather here. We all talk the weather. We nerd out about the weather, and of course, we're talking impacts um, and all that stuff. Suzette messaging from Jamaica, Spanish Town. Are you talking? Are you gonna post or are you wanting? Okay, so yeah, so Spanish Town, um, that's just west of Kingston, right? So if we go just west of Kingston, it's going to get a little further. It's going to get worse and worse the further you get to the core. I think the core comes ashore on the far western side, and that should keep the worst of the worst outside of Kingston. It's still please don't confuse. It's still going to be pretty nasty in Kingston, but I think the worst of the worst is now going to be from Bull Savannah to Manville to Black River to Maroon Town to Frome to Duncan's, maybe Montego Bay, Accompong, and the mountains there. I mean, it's going to be nuts in the mountains. Like these mountains right here, Albert Town. I mean, the wind is going to be um, even higher, of course, the further you get away from the surface. All right, so I have a question. Do you think the hurricane will last a whole day in Jamaica? Maybe not a whole day, but close. I'll show you the high resolution future radar here. Let me take this further out so we can get to the best information. So this is going to be at 7 o'clock tomorrow. I'm going to show this same exact thing with the wind speed as well, if you stick around. So there's 7 o'clock, the heavy rain across most of the island. There's where landfall is, this is the European model. Thank you for that report of the strong wind and rain in Kingston already. But there's landfall somewhere late tomorrow morning, maybe from 9 o'clock to 1 p.m., give or take. Again, it's moving so slow. And there it is still. There's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. Very heavy rain across the entirety of the island, with the worst of it on the western side. And then we start to see things kind of wind down a little bit, just a little bit, at 11 o'clock. And then we start talking about early Wednesday morning for the eastern side of Cuba to have a landfall, possibly still of the latest major hurricane is what I'm trying to say. Lord Stormy at 33, thank you for keeping your tabs on the recon mission. Would love to know again what you find here as we're kind of going over some hour by hour stuff. So I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping your eyes on that. That is appreciated. And then through the Turks and Caicos, of course, later in the day on Wednesday. So that's the deal here as we're kind of watching that timeline. Now I'm going to show it what the winds, and this is the part that's even crazier. I have to add a bunch of pause points in my frame here. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, got it there. Because we're going to go, these are going to be wind gusts that I show you, by the way. So these are not sustained winds. Not that it makes it any better, but um, these are sustained winds. Jamaica landfall tomorrow, and landfall is going to be sometime before noon tomorrow. So here's the official forecast from the Hurricane Center. And by Wednesday at 8, and skipping the time there, let me add all of my pause points back. Stand by. Then we're going to go over the winds. So these lines you see here, and again, this is the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. 8 a.m. tomorrow is where they have it on this center line right there. And then by 8 p.m., the core is off of the island. So it's going to be sometime, I think, in the early afternoon, maybe around lunchtime, give or take. So it's going to be a slow go of things, and I'm just really, really concerned. I mean, look at the terrain here. If I try to make that look like 3D, I think the higher mountains are over by Kingston, but still, that is nothing to play with. And we're going to see landslides and mudslides and all that stuff here. I want to show you guys, again, because we do have a decent amount of people tuning in from Jamaica, and I hope you guys are doing well. We're thinking about you. There is the kind of slow progression. So there's 9 o'clock on Tuesday. Landfall is when kind of the eye is half on, half off. And that's when the Hurricane Center will call landfall. So here we go. That's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So the eye completely on. So likely a little bit before that. But look at these winds. Wind gust 77 miles an hour, 93 miles an hour. It's 101. And then closer, I mean, to the corner there. Wind gusts of 140 miles an hour. Obviously, you would expect that when the maximum sustained winds are 175 miles an hour. So, Patches Moo, sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. 1935 is the record, so we are going to be pushing that up. There's another storm though that tied that record not too long ago. So if anybody knows the name of that storm, there's some bonus points there. There are two storms in recorded history in the Atlantic Basin that made landfall with winds of 185 miles an hour. This one is forecast to come in at 175. I would not be surprised if it is higher at that time. But there are two. Think landfall, Howard. Certainly one of the strongest for sure. So you're 1,000,000% right. I'm looking for the answer at landfall. And then let's take this out forward because there's 7 o'clock at night, Montego Bay. We're still dealing with winds in excess of 100 miles an hour. And then even in Kingston, we still have strong tropical storm force wind gusts, maybe hurricane force wind gusts coming out of the south at that point. Good guess, but not Gilbert either. And then this will be a story for tomorrow as we're tracking this for Cuba. Good guess, Matt. Hurricane Allen. That is the strongest hurricane ever by wind in the Atlantic Basin. But at landfall, different story. David got it. It is Dorian. So the strongest hurricanes ever in the Atlantic Basin to make landfall are the Labor Day hurricane in 1935 in Florida, and then Dorian back in 2019 on Grand Bahama Island. That terrible scenario of it just staying there and staying there and staying there. Irma's a good guess. That was another very intense storm. That's up there in the record books as well. But there are the winds going through. So it's going to be a rough go of things for probably a good 12 to 18 hours. And I mean, from this point on, things get worse. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to see. So yeah, well, that latest pass, I think, is what got us the 11 o'clock advisory. I think. We'll see. The SFMR runs a little hot, especially when it gets close to landfall because there's a lot of extra bubbles. It's recording the foam, so the SFMR does run a little hot, and just went through the eye again. What did they find? 903. So it looks like I'm seeing 907 and 903. Yep, you got it. 1935 has the lower pressure than Dorian at landfall. I believe. I'm pretty sure. Um, are you asking where I saw that it messes with it, David? Um, I mean, it might not, but when you get, I think it's close enough to land for it to have a problem because if the Hurricane Center trusted that, they would have upped the winds to at least 180. And they didn't. There's satellite data suggesting that it's over 180 as well, but the Hurricane Center bid on none of that at 11. Yeah, Van Life is right about that. That was crazy to see. The Melissa breaking the driest eye record, which is nuts. Um, Rich, were they talking about for New York or for Florida? That they said that was yeah. There's and that's the thing. Yeah, no rain in the United States. So I'm just looking at some of the drops on data from the Hurricane Hunter flight. And that's a crazy thing. So let me pull up that recon graph. That's wild. I'm shocked. So several people now are saying that people were saying the rain in Florida was from the hurricane. That's crazy. So if anybody's watching from Florida, the rain that we got yesterday, the crazy amount of rain that's from the system that's actually helping to keep it away from Florida. We had the warm front slide through, now the cold fronts give us the storms today. That's what's keeping this thing off of the Florida coastline. Let me get you back to the actual satellite while I kind of just look this up. I mean, I don't know. There's something a little change there. You see just a little flare up. Maybe just trying to see if there's any kind of sign of an eyewall replacement cycle. There may be subtle signs. Look at it, to the little loop to loop over the last couple of frames. It goes back down, back up, back around. That's crazy. Yeah, that might be a wobble. I know the now motion says north northeast, but holy cow, that just might be a whole turnaround. No, I think Lord Stormy. I think that's a stretch too. Um, we don't have any kind of moisture from the hurricane coming to Florida. Definitely not. If there's anything, it would be pulling in some drier air. There is a big I'll show you the water vapor imagery. You can see the disconnect between the two. And this was a crazy thing we looked at earlier. Just the sheer, like, that just looks so mean. I mean, that on the water vapor imagery. Um, so there's all that, but you can clearly see that dip right there, that orange coming in. That's the trough that's sending Melissa packing. All of this moisture was kind of a combination of just the warm front lifting tropical moisture back up. And then we also have high pressure over here that was helping to pump in moisture back onto the Atlantic side as well. So just crazy amounts of moisture coming in, not related. You see that spin there over Kentucky? That's the deal with that. Yeah, I think unless they do a special update, we may need to okay, good point. Good point. So, Rich was saying maybe we can explain what the driest eye means. So, what happens in these hurricanes? And we'll just keep it on the water vapor imagery now because this is otherworldly. As a side note, um, a drop zone just recorded 880. What at what pressure? Hold that thought, Rich, my friend. So the one that I see the most recon saying the Falcon 900, the most recent that I see in this drop zone is 902 at the surface. That would indicate it's still dropping. Unless my computer is just being super slow. That was from that pass that came through. So while we're waiting again, Rich asked to explain to everyone about what the driest eye means. So first and foremost, we are looking at the driest eye. So you clearly see here on the water vapor imagery, all of that green represents the moisture. You can see on the chart that it's off the charts. We're talking about a tropical system here, so it's naturally going to have the juice, so to speak. You look down in there though. Look how dry it is. We have kind of all this green surrounding a little bit of orange. Look at that little the wobbles in it though. Crazy. So what happens in a hurricane is you get so much of this rising motion that eventually you hit the stratosphere with it. You get these thunderstorms hit the stratosphere and level off. Over time, high pressure because of that actually builds on top of the hurricane. So we call these a warm chord low. These are a heat engine, but on top you get high pressure. So in the strongest hurricanes, you get high pressure on top. Well, high pressure aloft causes air to sink. And when air sinks, it warms up and then it dries out. So when you have that strong subsidence or that strong sinking air like that, you clear out the eye. And that's why we get the eye of the hurricanes. And it's so intense that this eye is just so clear and so wide open. And then everywhere else, we just have this madness thunderstorm activity right around on that as well. So on the plane wind barb chart. So a couple of things too while we are on this. I'll probably be live for like another 10 minutes maybe. Hang out a little while longer. Um One of the other things too, so the trough that's steering it, you'll notice, let me make sure this is looping so we can see this stuff. Whoops. That was a low temperature in the Central Florida area today. Let me get back to my hurricane stuff. Sorry about that, guys. Um yes, the black one, the black chart with all that stuff. And remember that is all so I don't so I hope that's the case about the devastation being more limited than appeared, but I don't think anything has changed in the size of anything. Uh, the eastern side of the island of Jamaica gets the heavy rain with some hurricane force wind gusts. The western side gets the core. I don't know that it's a small area of devastation. I hope that that's the case, but I would not let your guard down that the core is relatively compact. Um, in that, check the O1 goes perfectly near the eye. David brings up a good point too, and that's why the right front quadrant is the worst, that dirty side of the storm. The one thing is it's not going to be moving that fast at landfall. Um yeah, there's a lot of adjustment factors, and it's funny. There's like a Twitter battle going on right now about what adjustment factors needs to be changed. But yeah, that is a million percent the case. That's why the right front quadrant is bad. All quadrants of the hurricane are terrible. But the right front is the worst because you have the forward speed as well, in addition to the wind going. That's why Charlie was so bad, so far inland, because it got picked up by a huge dip in the jet stream. It was a tiny bite-sized storm. It was a mean storm at landfall. I think 140 mile per hour winds. I know it was Cat 4. Um, but it made landfall southwest Florida and then raced. So there was the forward speed in addition to its maximum sustained winds. That's what caused all the damage. One of the other things here is this trough, this dip in the jet stream, that brown color that you see there, it's helping the storm breathe. Like, note the outflow change on that last loop. It's kind of it's helping to evacuate the winds aloft. And when you have winds evacuating aloft or spreading apart at loft, you get extra rising motion. So we might see things get a little better environment wise for this storm over the next couple of hours. And I mean, again, we'll see because it's interesting. You know, obviously we do have a plane in there, which is nice. We're gonna get ground truth of everything. Um, however, yes. So Thomas is asking, can I explain how it helps the storm breathe? So one of the things is we talk about air needs to kind of go pull apart in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So there you go. David just said it, upper level divergence, lower level convergence. So you have to replace the mass somehow. There's a big equation, mass continuity equation, but to spare you of all the math and physics behind that, what's happening is that this trough, that brown color you see coming through Orlando and parts of the Gulf, it's helping to kind of pull apart the winds a little bit. So as all of this thunderstorm mass is being lifted up, it's being evacuated from the center. So it's helping to. It's almost like it gets congested, so to speak. So it's blowing its nose. That's kind of a better analogy. Or if you're sitting in a bathtub, Dr. Greg Forbes, if you've ever watched him on the Weather Channel, greatest meteorologist in my opinion, smartest meteorologist I've ever seen. But he made the analogy during a tornado outbreak one time, is that if you're sitting in your bathtub and you kind of pull your hands apart, or in a swimming pool or something, and you pull your hands apart, that water gets replaced by the water that's underneath your hands. So that's what we have going on here. We have this gigantic cycle here, um, and all that. So that's the deal there. And David continues to say that with the stratosphere, and that's where you get that upper level convergence. You get the high pressure because you have all that stuff running into the stratosphere and kind of flattening out. And you need to have this big system. That's why warm water isn't always just, it doesn't tell the complete story. There's a lot of extra things um that's going on as well. So I hope that helps between what David mentioned and um what we were showing there on the water vapor imagery. See you, Jim. It's good to see you, my friend. All right, let's see. Okay, so St. Mary, Jamaica. We're hanging out on the northeast side of the island. What or northeast side of the island, just to the northwest of Kingston. Um, So, okay, we're looking at sorry about that. You got it, Jeanette. It's good to see you. St. Mary, Jamaica. I think 20 to 30 inches of rain. Certainly a foot of rain is at the lower echelon of that. But then the wind speeds, we can go over this again and kind of zoom in towards your area. Let me take you a little closer. Whoops, it didn't stop. I need to put my pause points back on. So that's going to be about the worst part right there. And by the way, while we're setting this all up, if you're finding us for the first time, I'm Jonathan, by the way. I hope you're having a great night. Thanks for stumbling across the channel. If you're new here, we talk all things weather and we really combat the misinformation and all that stuff. Um, so if you like to help kind of take out the garbage that's on social media and you like just having the weather conversation and just marveling at the weather, you've come to the right place. If you want to stick around longer, hit that subscribe button for me. I'd appreciate it if at least give this a video a thumbs up so it sends or this live stream sends it out to more people. We're whether we are a weather crew, a weather team of 100,000 strong. Would love to have you on board as we just always talk about the weather and stuff, and would love to get your weather reports on a daily basis when we do the video. So consider hitting that subscribe button if you've found this live stream helpful and you just love the weather. All right. So we'll get to the Turks and Caicos in just 1 second. We'll get into that. Well, actually, on this same graphic that I'm on, I'm going to take this a little bit further to the north and take the time out a little bit more to get us into the Turks and Caicos. So there we go. There, that pause. We'll do it pretty good there. That's on Cuba, and then there we go with the worst part for. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. So I mentioned about just the marvel of the meteorology behind this, and it is crazy. And it's when you're looking at it from that standpoint, like it doesn't get any more scientifically or meteorologically. I mean, this is the upper echelon of what the Atlantic can produce. It's just again, you typically see what we just saw there in the satellite image out in the Pacific and on the typhoon side of things, just because there's a lot of extra water out there. It's warmer. It's it's crazy. Okay, so here we go. We'll take it through the timeline of Jamaica again. This is 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Expecting landfall likely around noon. There's some of the eye wall winds. It's not doing terrible on the eastern side of the island. Let's take you a little further out. I know Rich mentioned, I mean, it's crazy. Like just a few days ago, this thing was barely hanging on. And it's wild that I mean, if there's any area in the world that can happen where it's just nothing, and then all of a sudden the wind shear backs off, and it's the water is so warm and it's so deeply warm here. You got it, Bobby. I hope that helps. And I'm gonna give you a better, if you stick around for just 1 second, I'm gonna give you a better look here at the wind speeds. So this is about lunchtime tomorrow. Okay. And I'll keep the about. I mean, the wind's not too strong in the outer bands; they'll be stronger than that. But then coming on the shore right before landfall, that's 107 mile per hour wind gusts. Take it just a little further inland, even stronger because the eye wall wasn't on there. Um, and then there are the crazy winds there just north of Montego Bay, 100+ mile per hour wind gusts. Getting closer to where your area is, again, hurricane force wind gusts, certainly over that 70, 75 mile per hour hurricane threshold, even on the eastern side of the island, far away from the core. Yeah, this is where the plane is now on that other pass. It's kind of up here. And there's that 902 from the last one. So it's going to come back out here and continue its alpha pattern and eventually work its way back into the core. So it is wild tonight. What is going on in this storm? I think we're going to hang out for about another 10 minutes or so and just kind of watch this. Let me get back to my satellite. I think one made a fifth pass today. I think one made a fifth pass today I saw. 'Cause I saw a tweet. I'm not sure where the Air Force is flying out of. I didn't catch where they took off from. If anybody knows, um, Noah's flying out of Florida, I believe. They're normally out of Mississippi, the Air Force, but I don't know. I don't know if they're somewhere in the Caribbean or not. Okay, sounding to the guy, sure thing. Let me get the latest sounding. Yeah, Noah's flying out of Lakeland, and the Hurricane Hunters are flying out of Carousel, or the Air Force Hurricane Hunters are flying out of Carousel. Let me get back to my thing. Whoops. So this was the most recent let me minimize this and pull this over so we can actually see. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. And this is on tropicaltidbits.com, just one of a couple of sites that we use to watch the recon stuff come in. So there you go. And that's the one that did it. Not yet, not officially. It's right now it's at 902. We'll see if it goes down at the last pass here. Yeah, it appears we do have the drops on reporting 900 millibars. So it looks like we made it to 900. So it looks like we are down to 900. So I mean, okay, so we have 900. The deal is now we've now lost what was it was 903 at the 11 o'clock advisory. So in just an hour, it's now dropped another 3 millibars. So it is going to be interesting to see. Um, it's going to be this. It's going to see. Are you talking about the 800 to 850 to 500 millibar shear? Okay, gotcha. So I'm on the University of Wisconsin CIMSS site, and there it is. So I mean, we're still reading. It doesn't start feeling it. It looks like until it gets to Cuba, maybe a little bit north of Jamaica. So just wild. So if you're just tuning in, we now officially have a drop sonde recorded the pressure down to 900 millibars. So that is a 3 millibar drop um, since the 11 o'clock advisory came out. So that's going to be significant for a couple of reasons. That's a pretty decent drop. Um, and the satellite presentation is some of the most ridiculous we've ever seen in the Atlantic Basin. It looked like it attempted an eye wall replacement cycle, but then it never went through with it. Um, so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see like what happens at the 2 a.m. advisory. But no, left side still looks good. Left side of the storm still looks good. There's nothing that would suggest that there's any kind of dry air or anything. Certainly, like you could argue there might be some drier air trying to push up on this side right in through here, but it's fending it off. I mean, it is a well-oiled machine right now. Um, yeah, when you're talking the pressure, I think I have. Let me see if I have my graphic in here. So I mean, it's crazy to think that we are talking about this, but here's where we are. Um, Lowest pressures. This is ever not landfalling. This is in the Atlantic basin ever. So Milton just last year got to 897. So that's kind of what we're chasing. Um, Rita was at 895. Labor Day hurricane of 1935 was 892. Gilbert in 1988, obviously that hit Jamaica, was 888. And then it was stronger post Jamaica. And then Wilma, of course, the ridiculousness that was that storm, uh, holds the record for the most intense. Now, intense means pressure. Wind speed is a different story. That is Allen right now at 190 miles an hour. Let me see. I don't know if I have. The wind speeds right now are at 175. So I mean, we're approaching the upper echelon of like your Irmas, your Dorians, your Wilmas in terms of. I mean, we'll see about it's tried. It started. There were a tail Doppler radar indicated some banding features, and then it kind of went away. So I know it's like really hasn't gone through one yet. No, and that's a good point about the pressure dropping. We haven't seen the winds come up since it dropped from 908 from the 8 o'clock advisory. Um, so now we have that. I don't think we have a recent microwave pass. I was looking at it earlier. I have it up somewhere. And I think you could argue that it was trying to do something. Let me get that over there. This is from cyclonicweather.com. So there it is right there. What's the timestamp on this bad boy? Sorry. So I mean, yeah, this was a little while ago. This was before 8 o'clock Eastern time. So this was about 4 hours ago. Let's check the other band. Like it looked like there was like a little something, like a weird double feature. But I don't know. And there you go. That's just crazy. The heat content. That's a sea surface temperature right there. I mean, you're talking just wild. So JMO's asking, not that it doesn't have an eye wall. It certainly has an eye wall. It has a big eye wall. The eye wall is the strongest part of the hurricane. We were talking about an eye wall replacement cycle. A lot of times these things will, what happens is they kind of, I call it like a hermit crab, how they like shed their shell and go find a new one. Um, an outer eye wall forms, and then the inner eye wall goes away. So it forms a bigger eye that eventually then decreases in size and then increases the wind speed again. So for a short time, it weakens the storm. It's just like the figure skater. The smaller the eye, the faster it's going to spin. The bigger the eye, the slower it spins. But then it also forces the wind speed, the maximum sustained winds, further out into the storm. So it's a good and bad thing because it makes the storm bigger, spreads the hurricane force winds out, but for a time it weakens. A good example of that was Hurricane Katrina. I don't have the Jamaica radar because I'm not allowed to show it because it's obviously it's not the federal government of the United States radar, so I don't have the permissions to show it. Some YouTubers might, but I can't cross that gray area by showing that because we are lucky in this country to have widely freely meteorological data. for sure to show and to share. But once it's outside of the realm of the United States, it becomes a gray area. Um, so that's why I can't show the Jamaica radar tonight coming through. Let me see. I mean, the question is, will this be the most powerful? Rhino Express is asking, will this be the most powerful hurricane in Atlantic in recorded history? It has to do some work still to do that. Um, I mean, yeah, it looks like their site is down. I just wanted to, because that's a good idea to check that. Um, I have to check on that, Rich. I mean, I can't imagine that there's anything much slower. Anyway, Rhino Express, I mean, it could. And again, to do that, the strongest by wind speed is Allen in 1980 at 190 miles an hour. So it still needs to go up. Yeah, so I just tried to bring up the Jamaican radar and it says too many requests. So they're let me hit refresh again, just trying to see if it'll load. So there's a lot of people trying to dial that thing up. Yeah, it's not working for me. I don't know if anyone else has any kind of luck um trying to do that. Pretty much a bubble bath, South Florida. Pretty much. Rich says the radar went down this afternoon for a short while. I know I missed out on a lot of the stuff this afternoon on keeping up with this storm. I'm a meteorologist based out of Central Florida in the Orlando area, and we had a lot of flooding yesterday, last evening. So I was tending to that, making sure that our Central Florida, our neighbors in Central Florida were well up to date with the forecast. And then we had more strong storms move through all afternoon today with the cold front, that same cold front that is going to send Melissa packing away from the United States, and it's helping to cause that northeasterly turn. So I haven't been up to date on all the recon stuff that have been going in. I actually just sat down to Melissa probably about 10:30, I think is when I finally got up to speed on it, just kind of glancing on our satellite image here at the studio at the station. But of course, it's been wild to watch it, and of course, it's just a marvel of meteorology. Yes. So Thomas, as I was getting into that, he says the ideal scenario is like an eyewall replacement cycle right at landfall. If you remember Hurricane Katrina, and if I'm remembering correctly myself, it's been a while, but Hurricane Katrina, quote unquote, weakened to a Cat 3 storm before landfall because it went through an eyewall replacement cycle in the north central Gulf. So it reduced itself down from its strongest point. And um, at that point, it was most of these storms kind of weakened into the North Gulf Coast. Now we've kind of reversed everything this decade, and now everything strengthens, like your Michaels or your Ians, or everything kind of strengthens in there. Um, Going into the Gulf Coast, we've really changed that trend. The latest Cat 5 Rhino was just a little bit ago. It was Umberto in September. So we had Cat 5 Umberto. Um, we had Cat 5 Aaron earlier this year. So this marks the first time since 2005 that we've had 3 plus Cat 5 hurricanes in one season. This is only the second time in recorded history that we've had 3+ Cat 5s in one season. Records go back to the late 1800s. Now, there may have been seasons that missed some Category 5s out there for sure because uh, obviously we didn't have satellites prior to 1960. But still, from 1960 to where we are now, what is that, 65 years? Um, can I add 40 plus 25, 65? It's a little early or late. It's a long time to see that. Let's see. This is a super, super slow mover still. 2 miles an hour out of the northeast. All right, so I guess we got, since it's there on the eye wall, I guess we'll wait to this last punch, huh? We'll sign off after this punch. And there's going to be a lot of research on this. There's going to be a lot of research on this. The question was, are you starting to see a trend where October is becoming more active with hurricanes in recent years? Yes. We've now had Michael in 18. We had Milton last year. We had Melissa this year. We've had some really crazy hurricanes in October, and that's still the peak of hurricane season. But one of the issues, and I mean, whether it's for better or for worse, because it's putting off the intense stuff until late into the year, it's the stability. Because the earth is warming so much, everything's becoming stable. And until we get the natural seasonal cooling, and there's really warm water everywhere, in order to get these things to start popping and thunderstorms to start popping, you need to have differences in water temperature. But with how much warmth there is, you need to have some cooler air somewhere for instability to grow. So one of the theories is that since we are seeing warmer weather, the climate getting warmer, it's kind of putting a cap on things until we start to seasonally cool things. We certainly saw that last year, and it appears that's what happened this year. The Atlantic was just so stable that we weren't getting anything forming until now. Now that we're in the fall, things are a little bit cooler, and all that stuff. So let's see here. That is true. It's funny because my my friend and I, who I graduated college with, we always talk about the Gerald tornado about that because like it was rated a cat or a EF5 F5, um, just purely because it sat in one spot and just chewed everything up. It really probably wasn't, but regardless, it did that damage because it just sat there and did that. This though won't be that because it has that stuff. Um, it has the wind speed, it has the clout to go with it, and it has the clout to go with it. Plus, it's going to be slow moving, so it's going to be doubly bad. I believe El Reno still is the widest tornado on record. Yes, I think it was like 2.2 miles wide. Mayfield's tornado was crazy. I've seen a lot of people. I've not seen the damage in person myself, um, but I've heard from a lot of people that that should have been a 5. That's like one of the biggest like weather controversies still is that Mayfield should have been 5. The other one is that El Reno should have been 5, but the deal with that is, as we kind of get off topic, it's because the Fujita scale is a damage-based scale. Doppler on wheels recorded winds of well over 300 miles an hour, I believe. Not well over, just over 300 miles. You really don't need much much more than that, but well over 300 miles an hour. And but it didn't hit anything at its peak intensity. I mean, thankfully, of course, that was the one we lost a few storm chasers into, so that's one of record. But so that's obviously a really, really sad tornado. Yeah, tornado. The one of record is still the 1999 Moore tornado. Um, I think 302 is the record. Yeah, Rich was like, "Can you remind us where this started from?" Let me see if there's a good. I can put. I can use the track. I can put the past line on this. I'll do that for you guys to show you where this thing came from. Okay, I guess it only has on here. That's where it became a depression. So that's where it became a depression. But we were watching. Excuse me. Okay, so let's see. Let's check that out. If it did do that, if it made it to the eye wall, there's a lot of people up right now watching this. We're hitting the refresh button here. I'm so sorry to hear that Mayfield still looks like that. I mean, they're getting close. I don't see an eye wall drops on yet. I am not sure of I'm not sure of the largest. You mean by size Rhino Express to hit Florida? I don't know by size. I think F4 is the strongest by wind speed. There's been a couple of those. There was a bad outbreak on Groundhog Day. There's a bad outbreak on Christmas Day one year, and I think the Groundhog Day event of 1998. There's a couple of really strong ones and big ones in there, for sure. So I'm not sure of the size. I'd have to go deep into the archives. Hey, thanks so much from Olympia in Washington. Thank you a ton for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the team. Again, we're a team here, 100,000 strong. So if anybody's tuning in for the first time tonight, welcome to the team. Welcome to the live stream. Really appreciate you guys checking us out this evening. If you found this live stream helpful, if you like talking about the weather, and the big thing is, if you don't like the clickbaity garbage stuff that's out there, we kind of take that down, and we go right at it head on. So if you like that stuff and you like being a part of that stuff, and you just want to be a part of a growing weather community here that's now well over 100,000 strong, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe. It's been a great weather conversation tonight again, although we're watching something pretty devastating. If you're just tuning in and missed this too, this was from earlier. This was from the Air Force Hurricane Hunters earlier this afternoon, of course, when it was daylight, the stadium effect. Really, really crazy stuff. I can't even imagine what this looks like in real person, in real life, like being there on the plane, but just crazy stadium effect because it looks like there's stadium seats up there. But anyway, it's just wild. I really appreciate you guys hitting this subscribe button. Welcome to the team, Laura, Marcia. Welcome to the team again. Thank you guys. My choices. Thank you for subscribing as well. I'm really sorry to hear that you're dealing with all that stuff. Um, as well, we're thinking of your family for sure. The video stopped playing. Sorry about that. Um, hey Missy, hope you're doing well in Jamaica. Again, we're watching this. We'll go over the timeline real quick as we watch over this one thing. I think we'll end the stream at 1 o'clock tonight. And then we'll try to be back on tomorrow. Bunny, thank you again. MJ, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. It's great to meet everybody. It's one of the reasons why I love YouTube so much, because we get to meet and talk to people you would never meet before. So this is really cool. Again, I wish I wasn't covering this crazy event with you guys like this, that it was going to hit land. I wish you were watching this out in the open waters. Of course, we know that this is not the case. MJ, I went to Penn State. I'm from Pennsylvania. So if you're a Hawkeye fan, all right, we'll hit the refresh. I don't know if it's my internet in here. Check the drops on. I don't have the eye drops on yet. If anyone's seeing that somewhere, let me know. Let me see. But I'm gonna load up for our people. Yeah, I don't see it yet either. So you are a Hawkeye fan, but we can still be friends. I feel like Iowa, I mean, this year, obviously Penn State has gone way downhill. I don't know what happened this season, but Iowa's ruined like national championship berths for me when I was in college. I can go on and on. All right, so let's get back to the actual storm here. So this is where we stand. I'm going to go through one more run through of what it looks like, the timeline, because we do have a few people checking in from Jamaica. And I got a Michigan. Go blue. I'm going to just queue up the latest data here real quick. So I'm loading in the latest data as we speak, okay? So just give me 1 second. And for our friends in Jamaica, I'm going to go through a timeline here. I think that's a great way of putting it, Jesse J, about everybody. Obviously, we're on edge for Jamaica. We're praying for you guys. We're thinking of you guys. But we're also just kind of in awe of what Mother Nature can do. So here's the timeline. So this starts back at Monday. Obviously, that's beforehand. And because I changed the timeline, I have to change my pause points. So that's the European model. It is projecting landfall around noon, give or take. Okay, so landfall around noon. All the red indicates the very heavy rain. So even though the center by 1 o'clock is hanging around Montego Bay, the heaviest, I mean, the entire island, it's under there somewhere under that red. Very, very heavy rainfall. I can't stress that enough, that even though the core is kind of tightly packed, big time impacts, because we just have the just the heavy rain. The terrain is not going to help us out. Hurricane force winds likely over the entirety of the island. And then by midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, it's going to start to improve here. Probably around 11 o'clock local time. So yeah, I would still say around noon local time, give or take. It's going to start getting worse late in the morning, and then coming through. Yeah, the mountains are going to make this. I mean, basically, if you remember what happened in Helene to North Carolina, that's what we're looking at here, plus the wind. Just because of that terrain, then you have the mudslides and all that stuff. Monique is talking about the breeze is already crazy there in Kingston. Let me update the wind graphic here, and then we're going to go hour by hour. Let me just, because I want to make sure that the people from Jamaica are, as we're kind of watching this meteorologically speaking, I want to make sure that the people from Jamaica and Cuba, and we're going to talk about Cuba a little later, and we'll go over all of this. All right, so here we go. We're going to take this forward. This is around noon, 11 o'clock to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. tomorrow. So we're going to call it noon again, give or take. It's going to start getting bad. I mean, it's already pretty nasty. I mean, like the worst of the worst. So coming on shore, there are the winds. These are wind gusts estimated by the model. The model is going to downplay the winds a little bit. And remember, up in the mountains, you're going to get the higher force of the winds as well because you're higher up, reducing friction a little bit. There we go, all the way through from the west side to right along the coast to Kingston. There are those wind speeds, okay? Now let's take this out a little further. There's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We still have wind gusts in excess of 100 miles an hour. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll add another wind check up here for the north side of the island if anybody's. So there they are. Okay. Everybody with me? And then we'll go further out. There's Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock. We're still dealing with hurricane force wind gusts. And then finally, there's 3 o'clock on Wednesday morning. So conditions are going to continue to get worse for the rest of tonight. They're going to be really bad tomorrow morning and through the afternoon and evening tomorrow, Tuesday. And then finally, after midnight, I see some improvements, big time improvements coming. I mean, the after effects, the flooding and stuff, that's going to be going on, and all that stuff. Let's check this out. Okay, it looks like the plane is through. It punched it. Let's see if the drops on is in. I don't see that drop yet. It's at least gonna break. It's at least gonna make two separate landfalls. One in Cuba, one in Jamaica, and then maybe one in the Turks and Caicos. But it's obviously harder to make landfall in the Turks and Caicos because the islands are so small and the eye is small. I think we had someone from Australia earlier. I forgot to give you a shout out. Thanks for being here. Kelsey says those guys have been busy, crazy busy for sure. Flying through pretty much nonstop flights from the hurricane hunters. Hey Laura, I'm probably gonna just hang out until 1 a.m. tonight. So a few more minutes. I'm trying to wait to see if we get that if we get the drops on to come through. I know if I didn't have to work tomorrow, I have to get myself TV ready again tomorrow. But I'm gonna try to stream tomorrow as well. I'm gonna try. Can't make any promises, but Jesse's asking, is it true that as it passes based on its direction and where it's likely to make landfall, it will pull some of that flooding back out to sea? Absolutely. If you remember, there was crazy video of Hurricane Ian that came through. You see the ISON? It basically pushed Tampa Bay back out because of the strong offshore winds. Believe me, Kelsey, no sleep will help the beauty. Trust me. I'm trying to refresh and find that. Oh, there it is. The ISON. Okay, so it went so it's about it's 903, so then just is probably like 901 ish. So it didn't go sub it didn't go sub 900 on that pass. So maybe it's peaked and maybe we're going to get something. An eyewall replacement cycle. Maybe we get that. I work at Laura, I work at WKMG News 6 in Orlando, Florida. That's where I work. So that's why Rich, I know he saw me yawning. I was up late last night tracking the flooding that was moving through around the Orlando area, and then working through the storms that came through today. And I wanted to be here for history, and I wanted to make sure again that our friends in Jamaica got the best weather information that I could possibly give with the tools that I have at. I'm lucky that we have a lot of these cool tools at our station, but to pass it along. Landfall tomorrow at about noon. Noon on the island. Hey, I appreciate that. I remember you from those live streams with Helene. Yeah, and one thing, if the newcomers, hey Melissa, see you tomorrow night as well. Yeah, you got it. Quick run through the stats of where we stand right now. David, thank you for your expertise as well. It's great. It's just great having the conversation. That's why I love this. All right, so where we stand right now, the pressure is at 903. It looks like it bottomed out at 900. So we did make it down to 900. We have maximum sustained winds at 175. The movement is out of the northeast at about 2 miles an hour. Landfall projected somewhere late tomorrow morning, early in the afternoon, with slow moving category 5. We are losing some of the pink. I mean, maybe I'm wish casting. See it kind of turn black a little bit. Maybe we have some shenanigans going on, and maybe there is an eyewall replacement cycle that will spare us. It's not going to really do much, but we will take what we can get. John, we're thinking about you guys on the island as we go forward. Hey, one more time. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me late tonight. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time in the morning, midnight Central. Really appreciate you guys. The conversation has been great. The back and forth has been great. Thank you guys for watching some of the Hurricane Hunter data as we've been going through some of the forecast data here. It's been really, really awesome. Talking we have one question about Portmore. And I just want to make sure that Eliza, it will be a major hurricane. It may maintain Cat 4 status for Cuba. So it might be high end Cat 3 or Cat 4. So for St. Catherine Parish, one of our longtime followers, her name is Celeste. I haven't seen her on here in a while. I hope she's doing okay. She's from St. Catherine, and that is just to the west of Kingston. It's going to get pretty rough. The timeline again gets worse as we go forward. Tonight, we'll certainly have hurricane force wind gusts. The flooding could be a big time issue in St. Catherine. So just make sure that you are in your safe place from pretty much now through about late tomorrow night or late Tuesday night as we go forward. Alrighty, guys. Thanks, Kelsey. I appreciate it. And if you guys found the stream helpful, if you liked hanging out with us tonight, consider joining the team. We're all team members here, 100,000 strong plus. That's what differentiates us from some of the other channels on YouTube. Some of them do well. Some of them are clickbait, as the longtime followers know which ones are clickbait. We go after those guys because in times like this, when there's some bad information out there, we like to set the record straight and just use sound science and meteorology to kind of marvel at the things, to kind of learn some things, to obviously give our friends across the Atlantic basin in the United States, especially as we get into winter, the heads up. If you want to be a part of that, I always love getting your storm reports. That's one of the big things. I always love getting your storm reports when it comes to storms across the country and certainly across the Atlantic basin as well in the Caribbean. If you're interested in that, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I think we're going to be starting some exciting new subscription tiers where you can kind of get badges and things like that. So stick around for those things. That's going to be a kind of a fun addition to that as we go forward. I'm rambling on now. It's kind of that Midwestern goodbye where I think I said bye like an hour ago. And here we are at 1 o'clock in the morning. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to try my best to get on the stream tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Really appreciate all you guys. Be safe if you are in the path. We're thinking about you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.